Cecilia, and in favor of the Banned Books Week, I have decided to read The Secret Life of Bees by Simone. It was banned because it has racism, violence, and swearing in it. So, yeah, I'm just going to read my favorite part now. The day before I'd gone to first grade, T-Ray had found me in the peach stand, sticking a nail into one of his peaches. He walked toward me with his thumbs jammed into his pockets and his eyes squinted half shut from the glare. I watched his shadow slide over the dirt and weeds and thought he had come to punish me for stabbing a peach. I didn't even know why I was doing it. Instead, he said, "Lily, you're starting school tomorrow, so there are some things you need to know about your mother." For a moment, everything got still and quiet, as if the wind had died and the birds had stopped flying. When he squatted down in front of me, I felt caught in the hot dark I could not break free of. It's time you knew what happened to her. I want you to hear it from me, not from the people out there talking. We had never spoken of this, and I felt a shiver pass over me. The memory of that day would come back to me at odd moments. The stuck window, the smell of it, the cling of hangers, the suitcase, the way they'd fought and shouted, most of all the gun on the floor, the heaviest when I lifted it. I knew that the explosion I'd heard the day had killed her. The sound still sneaked in my head once in a while and surprised me. Sometimes it seemed that when I held the gun there, it hadn't been any noise at all, that it had all come later, but other times, sitting alone in the back steps, bored and wishing for something to do, or pent up in my room on a rainy day, I'd felt I had caused it. Then, that when I lifted the gun, the sound had torn through the room and gorged out our hearts. It was a secret knowledge that would slip up and overwhelm me, and I would take off running. Even if it was raining out, I ran. Straight down the hill to my special place in the peach orchard. I'd lay right down on the ground and it would call me. Now T-Ray scooped up a handful of dirt and let it fall out of his hand. The day she died, she was cleaning out the closet, he said. I could not account for a strange tone in his voice. An unnatural sound, how it was almost but not quite kind. Cleaning the closet, I had never considered what she was doing those last minutes of her life, why she was in the closet, what they had fought about. I remember, I said. My voice sounded small and far away to me, like it was coming from an anthole in the ground. His eyebrows lifted and he brought his face closer to me. Only his eyes showed confusion. You what? I remember, I said again. You were yelling at each other. A tightening came into his face. Is that right? He said. His lips had started to turn pale, which was the thing I always watched for. I took a step back. God damn it, you were 4 years old, he shouted. You don't know what you remember. In the silence that followed, I considered lying to him, saying, I take it back, I don't remember anything. Tell me what happened. But there was such a powerful need in me, pent up for so long, to speak about it. The words. I looked down at my shoes, at the nail I dropped when I seen him coming. There was a gun. Christ, he said. He looked at me a long time, then walked over to the bushel basket stacked at the back of the stand. He stood there a minute with his hands balled up before he turned around and came back. What else, he said. You tell me right now what you know. The gun was on the floor, and you picked it up, he said. I guess you remember that. The exploding sound had started to echo around in my head. I looked off in the direction of the orchard, wanting to break and run. I remember picking it up, I said, but that's all. He leaned down and held me by the shoulders, gave me a little shake. You don't remember anything else. You sure? Now think. I paused as long as he cocked his head, looking at me suspicious. No, sir, that's all. Listen to me, he said, his fingers squeezing into my arms. We were arguing, like you said. We didn't see you at first. Then we turned around and you were standing there holding the gun. You picked it off the floor. Then it just went off. He let me go and rammed his hands in his pockets. I could hear the hands jingling keys and nickels and pennies. I wanted so much to grab onto his leg, to feel him reach down and lift me to his chest, but I couldn't move, and neither did he. He stared at the place over my head, a place he was being very careful to study. The police asked lots of questions, but it's just one of those terrible things. You didn't mean to do it, he said softly. But if anybody wants to know, that's what happened. Then he left, walking back toward his house. He'd gone only a little way when he looked back. And don't stick that nail in my peaches again.